Yeah. Between Sepulveda and Van Nuys.
Okay, thank you. Any other
Question.
It is just 8:07.
Right, that's Sepulveda. The bike path usually it goes on the ground level. And is it going to continue?
It will continue to be on the ground level.
Yeah,
You'll just have a bridge on one side. A big bridge wall.
there will be a bridge.
Yeah, but it's going to be like. You bring back the. So. This is the bridge and it's gonna be on the other side, on the ground level.
That's where the adjustments come.
Yeah.
All right. I kind of know that area is all over the place. People walk, some people ride, you know.
Yeah.
It's out. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you for having me and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Please note, I did list some links on the agenda that go to Metro's website and in the Streets blog article just for. So.
And I will send, Glenn, I will send you the PDF. Could you please share it with Ron? Yeah.
Actually, we have, want to give us a,
No.
okay, all right, that's good.
Yeah. And then you guys can share it with the rest of the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eleanor, are you here and available for your presentation on the Pico Blvd Safe Mobility Project?
Yes, I am. Are people going to be able to see these slides that I have?
Maybe.
Okay.
Both try.
Moved over here.
I don't know. You want the speaker moved?
I'm moving it.
We could pass it.
I think he wants to move it.
Yes, please.
Move it.
Oh, great. Okay, I can share now. Okay. Are you able to see this and hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll try to talk loudly. I'm not sure how loud your speaker is over there. So this was something that came up in one of the subcommittee hearings, and they asked me to present it to the larger group. But the Pico Blvd Safety and Mobility Plan project is one of LADOT's latest corridor projects that we are working on. And this is not working. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'll be walking everybody through the project, why it's needed, and sharing the two design alternatives that we're proposing, and then give an overview of the next steps and the engagement process. So just some project context. The project extents are from Crenshaw to Figueroa, which is roughly 3.5 miles, and it's mostly in CD10 and CD1, that's the blue and the green. But there's a small portion in CD9 on the other side of the freeway. So this map is showing the current iteration of the HIN, or the high injury network, with the project overlaid on top. And you can see, hopefully, that the entirety of the project is on the HIN. So there's a serious safety need here. And then just for context, the high injury network is a grouping or a selection of streets in LA that have the highest concentration of severe and fatal collisions. Pico east of Figueroa is also identified on the HIN, but our project is going to stop at Figueroa because there's a separate project funded by Metro, led by Streets LA, that's going to address the corridor more into the downtown portion. So our project is just a complement to that project. Pico is not a new focus for us. We have been looking at the street for some time now, and we've made a whole bunch of location-specific investments on the street. So some of those are listed here. They include striping new crosswalks and edge lines. We've also introduced left turn phasing at a few intersections with plans to do more later this year. And we've also installed a new traffic signal, leading pedestrian intervals, and a handful of speed feedback signs to address persistent speeding. But these have all been really targeted location-specific upgrades. And this larger corridor project that I'm sharing with you is an opportunity to build on these improvements and address the corridor on a larger scale. So this slide is speaking to that need to expand upon past work. We conducted a collision analysis that showed that in the last 10 years, there have been 75 collisions that resulted in a fatality or a severe injury. So this map is showing the locations of those 75 KSIs, so killed or severely injured collisions. You can see that these are not isolated events. It's happening all across the corridor from Crenshaw to Figueroa. And I've pulled out a few statistics here that highlight that this traffic violence is disproportionately affecting pedestrians and cyclists. So almost 70% of the KSIs involve pedestrians, and all 11 people who were killed on this segment were pedestrians. We're also seeing a concerning number of cyclist-involved collisions. So we found that 12% of all injury collisions involve someone on a bike. And I didn't put this on the slide, but this is much higher than the citywide average for KSI. So citywide, about a little bit less than half of all KSIs involve a cyclist or pedestrian, but on this stretch of Pico, it's 72%. So speeding is a big issue on Pico. We did a speed survey a few years back that showed that almost a quarter of drivers were exceeding the posted speed limit. And this is a problem because we know that speed is a major predictor of collision severity. So that's what that graphic there on the right is showing. It's showing that the risk of a pedestrian dying doubles as impact speed increases from 32 miles per hour to 42 miles per hour. So the posted speed limit on Pico is 35. If we can get those speeding drivers to slow down, we can really reduce the likelihood of further traffic fatalities. And then there are other indications that people are driving recklessly other than the speed survey. There are a lot of areas where the pavement is marked up, and the screen grab at the bottom is one example. This particular intersection is at Arlington in Pico, and it's adjacent to a middle school. So as I'm sure you know, Pico is an important east-west connector street. It's designated on the Mobility Plan's bicycle lane network, and the addition of new bike lanes would fill a gap in that network. So if you look at the map, there's currently a bike lane on Venice Boulevard coming from the west that ends at Arlington. And then this red line shows how there's no existing bike infrastructure that continues east from there. But there are north-south bike lanes on 4th Avenue and Figueroa, and this project on Pico would connect the two and create an uninterrupted connection from the west side to downtown LA. And then just connectivity-wise, Mid-City is a high-density residential and commercial area, so it's an important economic connection that we want to make. And then looking ahead to the 2028 games, these bike lanes would serve as a first last mile connection to downtown and increase access to places like hotels and the cluster of Olympic venues that are in that area. So again, a major goal of this corridor project is creating that connection between Mid-City and downtown. We want to improve access to jobs and economic opportunities along the entire corridor, including at the terminus of the project there at the convention center. That's going to be a big part of the Olympics. In terms of safety, we want to continue the project that has been made with our spot treatments and continue reducing excessive speeding, making turns safer for all roadway users, and creating dedicated space for people on bikes to address those crash patterns that I was talking about earlier. And then now getting into the opportunities that we see for Pico. So this picture somebody on our team found is Pico Boulevard in the 1890s. It's looking westbound on Pico, I think from about Western Avenue. So I'm including it to show that, Pico hasn't always been designed for cars. There was clearly high bicycle ridership previously, and there's still high bicycle ridership today. So we want to do what we can to accommodate the needs of all of the people who are using this street. So today, this is what Pico looks like. It's paved. It has 2 lanes of through traffic in each direction. There's no left turn lane, so when drivers want to turn, they have to stop in traffic, and that creates a speed differential. There are parking lanes on each side of the street, and there's currently no bicycle facility, so cyclists have to either ride on the sidewalk or in with traffic. And then pedestrians, when they want to cross the road, cross 4 lanes of traffic. So our plan on Pico is a lane reconfiguration. We've done intersection traffic counts, and at all intersections along Pico, the volumes are classified as low volumes, and that's according to the stipulate or the thresholds of the city's mobility plan settlement agreement. We also did a traffic study back in 2017 for a portion of Pico that showed a reconfiguration would have very minor delay impacts, so about 1 minute of delay per mile. And that was a few years back. We've also commissioned an updated delay analysis that's currently being prepared by a consultant. But there's just a lot of evidence supporting this kind of treatment. So this graphic here is coming from a UCLA study on recent lane reconfigurations in Los Angeles, and it found that lane reconfigurations that decreased the number of lanes from 4 to 3 were safer and had lower collision rates. So you can see that across all these categories, collisions decreased by more than 30%. So just to recap, Pico, it's currently 4 lanes, and we're proposing a reconfiguration that would take it down to 3. And we have 2 design alternatives that we're weighing that I'm going to share. So the first one, this one would add protected bike lanes on both sides of the street. There would be a center turn lane to accommodate those left turns, and there would be opportunities to include pedestrian refuge islands at the intersection. So we could put those islands both in the center of the roadway and then also on the edges near the curb. This design would require removal of parking on one side of the street. So in this rendering that's shown here, we've removed parking entirely from the north side of the street and retained parking on the south side to create a parking protected bike lane. This is just an example. We're doing further analysis to understand what side of the street would be the best fit for that parking protected lane. But this is just to give you an idea of what this option 1 would look like. And then option 2 includes an unprotected class 2 bike lane. So the road would still come down from 4 lanes to 3 with a center turn lane, but there would be a painted bike lane on either side of the street instead of the protected lane. We would still have space for pedestrian refuge islands at some intersections, but the lack of that protected lane means that we would need to aggressively deploy other traffic calming measures like speed tables in order to make this a safe and comfortable environment for cyclists and all roadway users. But this slide just summarizes the 2 options. So obviously the main difference between the 2 is the protected versus unprotected bike facility. The major trade-off with option 1 is that we would need to remove some parking in order to make space for the protected lane. And then the major trade-off with option 2 is that a class 2 bike lane does not offer physical protection for cyclists. And I can share these later so you guys can see them more closely. And then, so most of Pico is that 56-foot wide 4-lane configuration, but the stretch that runs past the convention center is a little bit different because there's a median that divides the roadway, and there's 3 lanes of travel in each direction. So our proposed reconfiguration here would remove 1 lane of travel in each direction and add in a protected bike lane on each side of the street. And as you're probably aware, the convention center is being remodeled or expanded, and we've been coordinating with that expansion team as well as the internal development review team and the city planning department to make sure that the projects are moving forward as complements. Okay, so next steps. We're currently working with an outreach consultant and refining our engagement strategy. We're anticipating kicking off the full engagement later this month. We're in June now, and expect that to last for about 6 to 8 months with a variety of opportunities to hear from the community. So some of those are listed here. And as we finalize our outreach, we will post details to the project website. So like, for example, we are developing a survey with our consultant. It's not ready yet, but when it is available, it will be posted on our website. And all of the feedback that we collect is going to inform our final design and treatments to address those specific community needs that come up through the engagement process. So we anticipate being able to share the final design in early 2026. Yeah, so like I said, engagement is going to kick off officially at the end of this month. We had a presence at the Pico Union Cicla Mini last month. The timing just worked out well there, but we plan to really start in full this month. So I'm here talking tonight to you all, and one of the specific asks that I have is we're hoping that you'll be able to give some feedback that we can put toward our engagement strategy. So we want to make sure that we're capturing the cyclist community. If you know of any key groups that we should be reaching out to, or are there any groups that ride on Pico? When we were out on our walk audit, we saw a couple of bike shops. So wondering if there are any folks that we should connect with that you know of. Yeah, those sort of insights would be really helpful from you all. And then finally, all of the future engagement opportunities, like I said, will be posted on the project website. So you can visit this link when I share the slides. You can scan that QR code with your phone. There's ways to reach out to us there, or you can email this Vision Zero email with feedback or questions. Yeah, and that's all I have. I'm going to stay on this slide just so that you can see the contact and information, but I realize we are at 8:25, so I'm not sure how much of a discussion we're able to have, Rob, but
We're gonna have,
all
see if we
done.
can, 10 minutes or less. Public comment first. Questions or comments? Board, we'll start this way. Lionel.
I had a question about option 2. Is it ever considered to put the parking as a protection for the bike lanes for option 2? That the bike lane run along the sidewalk?
Sorry, I can't hear.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The question was like for option 2 in the design, like was it ever proposed to have the parking be outside of the bike lane and have it protecting the bike lane?
So you're
Yeah.
saying have a parking protected bike lane, but with no buffer in between the cars and the bike lane?
Yeah, I'm asking is this the space a problem for that?
Yeah, that's not
Okay.
feasible with our guidelines.
I just have one quick question. Why is the outreach period so long? I feel like it takes us forever to get these projects into the ground, and I don't know why we need 8 months of people telling us what they feel about it.
Yeah, so we are using the LADOT's community first engagement guidelines, and those require us to speak at a certain number of like neighborhood councils, have a certain number of pop-up events, that sort of thing, and it is difficult to get on the calendar. So we anticipate 6 months. I mean, maybe 8 if the timing doesn't work out well, but needing that amount of time in order to reach everybody. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we exhaust all of our options for reaching people so that when it does come time to propose that final design, we're not getting too many people being like, we've never heard of this, or like, why didn't you ask me this? So that it is a successful project, and when it goes in the ground, people are satisfied.
Okay, need feedback. Option number 1 looks great.
Other questions, Karen?
Yeah, I would reinforce the option one in that same community, just north of that on Seventh, where the bike lane is in the door zone. There's a huge number of cyclists who use the sidewalk, and I think if you really want people to use the bike lanes in the commercial corridor like that, it needs to be protected.
Yeah, I would add that option 2 is a half measure that's building a bike lane for a very small population of people who would use it. And if you want it to work, option 1 seems to me to be the way to go.
Philip?
Thank you, Eleanor. I really appreciate you coming and doing this presentation tonight. We were really excited to hear in the subcommittee meeting that you could come here and do this. So thank you so much. The question I have is regarding, okay, so there's the 2 options, and you showed us what it looked like on one side of the street, but it wasn't clear to me what the other side of the street would look like. Would there be a bike lane on the other side of the street? Would it be a protected bike lane? You know, for me, it's like when I see one side and I don't see the other side, it's like the other side doesn't exist, you know, so I wonder if there's even a bike lane on the other side.
Yeah, so my apologies for not having a cross section that looks like perfectly down the middle of the street. This rendering, you can kind of see there is going to be a bike lane on both sides of the street. It's not a two-way cycle track. So in both design alternatives, the one that I'm showing on the screen right now is the option 1 with the protected facility. You can kind of see on the other side there is that green bollard protected lane. So yes, it will be on both sides of the street. The difference here is that on the side that's closest to us in this picture, so the south side of the street, it's parking protected, and then on the other side, it's just bollard protected. There's no parking on that side of the street.
So it's the same as the other one, and it has the white bollards and the little safety area, but it doesn't have the parking.
Correct.
So okay, thank you.
Any chance of like barrier, like concrete?
I know that we're piloting some concrete, sort of like modular concrete hard protection on other streets, and there might be an opportunity to reinforce, if we go with a protected option, reinforce the plastic bollards with either those modular materials or the rubber modular materials that are on Main Street. I don't know if you've seen those, the zippers, but I think right now we're not final on any sort of materials. It'll likely be paint and bollards, maybe reinforced with additional materials.
Aubrey?
Yeah, you're gonna have parking on one side of the street.
Yes, for part of it.
Or what do you do with the small businesses whose customers are on the other side of the street that are now relying on parking on both sides of Pico?
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why our engagement period is going to be so long. There are a lot of small businesses on Pico. We've already done 2 walk audits, and just walking up and down the street, I mean, there's so many storefronts. So we do plan to talk to as many of these businesses as possible to understand like how their customers are getting to their store, what this sort of a design would mean for like if it would be disruptive to their operations. That is one of the major trade-offs of option 1, is that we would need to remove some of the parking. Option two, we wouldn't have to remove as much parking. There would still be a parking impact. But yeah, that is a major part of our outreach, is reaching those small businesses.
If you remove parking on one side, you're gonna remove the business.
A lot of research says the opposite, but we can go into that later.
Chair.
Okay, Glenn, we're over here.
What, I may have missed it, what's the mileage from end to end total?
It's a little bit under 3.5. So it's Crenshaw to Figueroa.
Yeah, I got that, I just didn't know. And then the other question is, just from experience for similar projects already installed, are you like bringing out a way to deal with the food truck impacts on protected bike lanes, that they take the parking spaces and then they cause a traffic hazard for cyclists because they set up their seating tents on the sidewalk, and basically the people going back and forth, or worse, you know, we've even had people where they put up barricades that say, you know, stop or something in the bike lane. Anyway, is that something that, I
Yeah,
guess are you looking at it? Are you aware of it? Are you gonna? try to
definitely. Yeah. So
incorporate that? I
that
don't know,
was,
if you need, like a separate ordinance to just like prohibit it from that happening, but anyway, go ahead.
yeah, no, that is something that we've identified in our engagement plan, that there are a lot of street vendors on this segment. And we do intend to include that as part of our community engagement, is understanding where those people might need to go if we just make sure that they're not completely displaced.
So I'm not generically looking at all street vendor, I'm looking specifically at food trucks.
Right.
Because they're the ones that cause the traffic, the light, the furniture, and the impacts on the installation of protected bike lanes, where there is a high propensity for that activity to happen. So
Mhm.
as long as you're looking at, I mean, you look at other things too, but I'm specifically asking about food trucks.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we look into that.
Thank you. I do want to keep us moving, so if we can, Eleanor, thank you so much. Yeah,
Good question, Eleanor. I noticed that on the option one, you show a specific area where they do use some parking. And, but what about the off-street parking for some of those businesses? I know a lot of them along Pico have their own parking.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, I mean, I'm just wondering if you're taking that into consideration and maybe they can, share,
Yeah, that is something that we're looking to, especially in the context of how many driveways there are on Pico. Obviously you can't block a driveway with the bollards. So there will need to be some segments, if we go with the protected option, that don't have the ball, like we would need to put in mixing zones. We would need to drop the protection in front of those driveways. So parking, off-street parking is something that we're looking at.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for your questions, Eleanor. Thank you for your presentation. We look forward to greater community engagement, and please think about communities, organizations, clubs, contacts that you might have in this area or surrounding area that you can connect Eleanor and her team to do community outreach and engagement. And as Hunter has pointed out, the public engagement period can be long just to cover all bases. And if we can direct the community to engage more directly, maybe we can shorten this period. Yeah, Eleanor, you'll forward that to me that I can send out to the full board.
Yes, I should have done that before. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Of course.
We're going to go to new business. There are some that are more pressing. I believe under new business 6, B, C, and D are much more timely and in need of decisions. And we can, if we have time, we can get to A and E. Is that okay with you folks? Great. So let's look at the discussion and possible motion to support an initiative called Fund Transit, support our communities to develop $2 billion of state money for public transit. I have 2 copies for circulation of the letter, and there is a link in the agenda for people to take a look at it. Did you guys talk about it in your committee?
I thought I read it, I summarized it,
Okay.
yeah, and we sent it out.
Any questions or comments from the public on this topic? Any board conversation? Do you need, Philip?
You said somebody had summarized it. Can you just read the summary?
I did not.
It was in the reporting. you know, I just read pieces of it so that we would have an idea of what to read. You know, everyone agreed that we should,
I mean, it went out with the agenda and
Yeah.
so I don't have a scoring.
No. It was in the reporting, that's it. I broke down the letter in little sections. I didn't read the whole letter.
Jennifer, you just able to give a really quick elevator kind of speech about what it is, so that way people know what it can.
We linked it,
But do you have a summary that you want to make?
I can just read what,
I just love it.
okay.
Yeah, it's a multi-page letter. So
This is a statewide initiative to put aside, to allocate $2 billion of state money for public transit.
I lied. It was Festival Trail that I summarized.
Okay.
I lied, sorry,
I mean, right off the bat, I would support it.
yeah.
Do you like a 2-paragraph summary from ChatGPT?
Sure.
Love that.
The letter signed by a broad coalition of transit, labor, and advocacy organizations requests that California allocate $2 billion in new state funding over 2 years, beginning in the fiscal year 2025 to 2026, to support public transit operations and capital needs. It emphasizes that while transit agencies appreciate the $5 billion in funding provided in 2023, they continue to face severe budget shortfalls driven by lingering pandemic impacts, e.g. remote working, reducing fare revenue, inflationary pressures, and rising costs for maintenance, safety measures, and zero-emission bus purchases. Major systems like BART, Muni, AC Transit, and Caltrain alone account for most of the statewide ridership, and are confronting acute deficits that threaten service continuity, even as other agencies plan expansions that will require additional operating and capital support. Without this interim funding, the letter warns agencies will be forced to cut service, defer maintenance, and halt capital projects, actions that would undermine ridership recovery, jeopardize safety and reliability, and increase long-term costs. Such declines would hinder California's climate goals, exacerbate affordability by forcing residents to rely on cars, and weaken recent housing policies aimed at encouraging transit-oriented development. The letter also highlights the urgency of preparing for major upcoming events, the World Cup, Olympics, Paralympics, that will draw large numbers of transit users. In sum, the coalition argues that multi-year state support is critical to bridge agencies to more sustainable local funding solutions and to ensure that California's transit network can continue serving its climate equity and economic objectives.
Thank you, sir, for that. Use of technology.
I'll make a motion.
Philip makes a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Janice, second. Public comment? Board comment? Glenn?
So I'm a little bit confused about initiative. This is not a state ballot initiative, it's effort to get money from the state budget.
So this would be a letter to the city council encouraging them to support this. Is that the correct approach? Because we
For
are
us.
advisory
Right.
to the
That's
city council.
That would be my next point as far as, so we're taking this and saying we recommend the mayor, it's mayor and city council.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you. Other public,
By the way, you
other-
can add relevant departments, like you can add LADOT on as well.
perfect. The city family. Any other board comment?
We can't have Metro.
Sure, why not?
As it's not as,
That's what I was wondering.
Well, they would benefit from it, but
yeah, so my suggestion is.
we should stay within the city family. Metro is,
Right, but
we can copy it.
but Metro has 4. It has the mayor, has council members, so you can direct to the city's representatives on Metro.
Great.
You probably can do it. If you want specifics, let's say. In your capacity, you're wearing a couple of hats here, right?
I want to keep us moving, but thank you. Any other further comment? Janice?
I just wanted to comment that there's that guy, I can never remember his name from the,
Eli,
Northwestwood Neighborhood
Oh,
Council. who
Oh,
keeps
Jacob
sending us-
Washington.
Jacob Washington.
Yeah.
He writes beautifully, and he just sent one out recently that is a suggestion to the city to support a state measure.
I might,
Different state measure, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind if our subcommittee stole language.
thank you.
from him.
Great. So seeing no further discussion, please raise your hand if you're in favor of LABAC sending a letter of support for this. Lionel, is it one? Unanimous, thank you. Festival Trail Project. I have 2 copies for circulation. This was presented at the Planning Bikeways Engineering Committee. This is to create a trail, a bike pedestrian trail transit in parts of LA that are not getting a lot of love. So Central LA, South LA to connect and to celebrate and to make accessible the Olympics and other venues in a celebratory way. And Philip, please correct or add to anything that I
think one of the key points, and I think you explained it very well. One of the key points though is that the Olympics is going to last like 2 weeks or something like that. And this is to create a legacy framework around that. So in other words, that and the community would benefit, not just the Olympic activities, but all of the surrounding communities would be participants and beneficiaries of the Olympics.
Yeah, so this is to make lasting change versus temporal change, and in an area that has not seen a lot of love. Public comment?
I would hope that y'all can your position to urge, especially just looking at existing bike and pedestrian infrastructure around major venues such as the Coliseum and BMO Stadium is rendered pretty ineffective when the event day comes. And so looking at the Festival Trail project, there's excitement, but also a lot of fear and anxiety around a lot of money being wasted on infrastructure that ultimately is going to fail at its most critical moments of need. So yeah, just kind of wanting to put that sentiment there.
Thank you. Other public comment? Board comment? Same thing as far as directing to the city and to the city family. Yeah.
Did we make a motion?
We're about to.
Okay.
Oh, no, I thought you did.
That was on the first.
Oh, sorry. Is there a motion?
Did this come from committee?
It did.
Wasn't there a motion from committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's
the motion before us.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if anybody had to move.
Hunter?
I would just say I've seen early versions of this proposal and they've been temporary, so it's nice to see that they've moved to permanent. However, it feels like the budget that they've outlined is super low, just in comparison to a lot of other projects of similar size and scope in LA. So, and I just find it wild that we would have 300 million to spend on something like this, even though I feel like that's low. So I love the concept and I think we should totally sign on. I just don't know how realistic it is, especially this time.
Honda's a new lead sponsor for the Olympics. Jennifer?
Yes, I'd like to mention that he wants to use facilities that already exist and just connect the gaps pretty much. I mean, from what I understood was from LAX, down Crenshaw, cross Lawson, over to the river, up the river, go down into the basin by downtown LA, which is a big deal. Everybody's trying to get that done. Come back up to Frogtown and go up around the bend to Balboa. So that's pretty much, there's structure, a lot of the structures there. We just need to.
But it is about engaging the community and creating community centers where they can observe some of the Olympics and world events that are happening in LA, and also engage community artists and create gathering points beyond the Olympics, creating some of the venues. But
he does have a couple of other branches. But that was.
There's
the
quite a
one
bit of support, but
Yeah, I mean, it's.
We should start the public
you
comment
like-
period.
we did.
I'm sorry, no, I know this project, because it takes 8 months to have one bike lane, so. And that's not even including construction. So.
Any other further board comment? Last public comments? All those in favor of this proposal, please raise your hand. 1, 2. Unanimous, thank you, getting stuff done. And the next one is discussion and possible motion to support Let's Move Metro Bike Share Forward, investing in LA's transportation future. This was forwarded by Eli. He is unfortunately not able to be here. He's on day 3 of AIDS life cycle.
Amazing.
Public comment? Board comment?
Could I make public comment?
Yes.
It's Anne Marie.
Hey, Anne-Marie.
Hey. So this one I was a little wary of, only because Eli has been a vocal supporter of Lyft, and I know a lot of people don't want Lyft to get the contracts, and there's allegations of cheating, and one of their subcontractors is still listed on this letter, so it doesn't say Lyft anywhere on there, but it kind of implies it. So I just wanted to, I guess, make people aware that it could still look to Metro like he's saying, choose Lyft.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for asserting yourself in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't say it, but I think Anne Marie is saying it could be read into. Is that a fair?
I could speak to that.
Karen?
I think that the letter seems to be urging that they move quickly. And I think the implication is that because they had initially indicated that, or a committee or whatever recommended Lyft, that the fastest path forward would be to go through with that. That's the potential implication. I don't know if there's other reasons, but my biggest concern is that I have biked in other cities where Lyft has taken over the bike share. And for example, Minneapolis, I killed it completely. And in Washington, D.C., it made it impossible to use the docking stations closest to the airport because they're trying to divert people to using rideshare instead of the bikes. And the CEO or somebody like that has publicly stated that their goal is to basically kill the bike share and get more riders for car service. And so I'm just very concerned if this is something that favors Lyft. I absolutely oppose and worry that it's more important to make sure that we don't do something that has long-term damage to having a bike share at all.
Other board comments?
Yeah, the letter kind of just says, get it done,
Mhm.
which I agree can't be read, just like tacit approval, like, well, there's a contractor that's already there, and they're already considering a favorable committee within Metro, so that's who's gonna get it. I do share a lot of Karen's concerns about that in particular.
Alternatively, I don't know if staying with the existing contractor is also more efficient.
That's what I was-
Moving that forward quickly.
There's also like the labor problems that.
Yeah, there's other serious ones there.
Yeah, which I think getting us down. Or whatever, just getting on the topic.
Taylor, did you want to?
Well, do we want to write a letter that support, I mean, do we support BTS over Lyft as an organization? Can we? And if so, do we want to write a letter?
I don't know that we've gotten into, I haven't seen any of our subcommittees evaluate the bids, nor are we part of that. So that feels like a stretch.
Yeah.
Personally, we haven't done any, I mean, I think some of us have some personal opinions, but as an organization, we haven't
Right.
weighed the pros and cons or evaluated the bike share.
Right. We talked about it a fair amount on Bike Talk, and we
Yeah.
had a lot of different people speaking about it. And I'm really concerned that Eli supports Lyft, because I feel like everything that I've heard, everybody that I've talked to strongly supports BTS for many reasons. And I just, if this is a tacit approval of Lyft, I totally disagree with it.
Jennifer?
I just heard, I agree, I know what you're saying about Eli sort of supporting Lyft, sort of, but he's not supporting it in the letter. But he did mention, and the part that you're talking about, I don't know if they destroyed bike share in other cities, but the part that Eli liked was their database. And that they have their reach is very large, and if they are Blvd supporting bike share, then they have a huge reach compared to the other.
What do you mean by reach? In terms of the app on people's phone is part of it, right?
They just have millions of people that they, have data on, that they can send out. Say,
I want to keep us moving. So, thank you. Philip?
And I'm just wondering if we're not enthusiastic about, giving a blank check to move ahead, then is there some, some language that we could use that says, we're not in favor of this, but at the same time, we want to move the project ahead.
I mean, I think we could vote it up, vote it down, or table it for further discussion and committee work. I think we'd have some options here. We don't have to. Sure, there's some timeliness of it, but if we're feeling like we're not ready, why jump?
How about
I mean, I hear a lot of concerns being expressed.
Yeah, but I think it's a good project. Are you able to write a letter that has a caveat in it that it's subject to, that we think the project conceptually is it's great. However, we would like to have more information about the service providers, the contractors, and kind of set it out that way. So that way you're timely.
Project. It's the proposals have been submitted. It's actually already got delayed 1 year because of the outcry last year when they were going to award it to them.
And then it got pulled again.
And then it just recently was.
It looked like it was being awarded and then got pulled because of.
So what maybe we could consider is a letter just saying we feel strongly about a long-term sustainable bike share program.
That's enough by the letter conceptually.
Take a position on, we're not addressing who.
But is that letter helpful to anybody, or is it just a waste of paper?
I'm not sure.
Okay, then.
I mean, let's continue with board comments, and if there's other strong feelings or Glenn on this side. Glenn, you're.
My feeling is that if there's doubt, uncertainty, or, then maybe we don't have to weigh in. There's other people who are weighing in.
Yeah.
And people who are more knowledgeable, expert. I mean, honestly, if we're really gonna make an official position, we should invite the proposals, the proposers, possible, not necessarily this being, but some venue, we want to get all the information. So I at this moment in time, I would abstain just because I'm concerned about putting us on.
And the fact that Eli's not here.
Yeah, he should be here.
That's a reasonable reason to table it, or. I think if voting it up or down feels premature. Tabling it feels, from my perspective, at least considerate of one of our members who brought it to us.
Except we're also trying to create a presence for the BAC in the city too. And so abstaining from things and not.
Oh, I'm not saying not to.
But if it's a timeliness issue, then we should, we want to sustain our involvement in city issues. We should say something, but not have it be an endorsement of anyone in particular.
It's a county contract.
Okay, good, that's it.
County or metro?
Well, metro is county.
Yeah.
But how sad that they don't consult the bicycle advisory committee.
Yeah.
For the-
Well, that's why I generally think when there's an opportunity to say something with regard to the BAC, we need to, because we have to develop a constituency and a recognition of what we try to bring to the table.
Yeah. So let me see if there's anything further public comment by those on Zoom. So there's this. If you missed it, we're talking about voting up or down or tabling is part of what we're doing.
This is item from our,
Can we finish this?
Oh, of course. We just want to make sure it's all. move on. But, consider that if it can be considered.
Seeing no further public comment from our virtual people, or I'm gonna ask, is there a motion to adopt or table, to vote on it or to table the item?
I have a motion to send it back to the subcommittee, send it to the subcommittee. It never got there.
Okay,
Planning and, engineering.
public comment, board comment.
Is that the best? I just asked.
I would,
The other one would be advocacy and education, I think.
but it seems like that actually it's more of an advocacy issue than a policy issue.
Okay, I'll take it.
I mean, does anybody disagree?
Subcommittee.
We're talking about is the bike share, which is a physical
Yeah.
entity.
Right, but in other, we're talking about giving it to a particular organization, is what we're talking about.
No, we're talking, well,
I think of bikeways and engineering, it's like specific projects. This isn't.
Yeah.
This is like a contract, which is, to me, sounds more like advocacy.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
But it's not a bikeway bridge.
Yeah.
Hearing more than one opinion. So the motion is to send it back to, send it to committee. All those in-
Subcommittee.
to advocacy and education. Wow, didn't want me to punt it off to anyone else.
There isn't anybody else.
All those in favor of sending it to the advocacy and education committee? Those opposed? No. Motion passes.
Have some more
Thank you.
chocolate cake.
We passed the motion.
Yeah, I don't. Do you see it in here?
It looks like the items from our committee are from like a couple of months ago.
Well, I put many of your items in here, but
That's the one. Wasn't it?
yeah, so it's not on, so we can't.
Okay.
So we can do it. My apologies.
Just, one of our motions didn't make it onto the agenda, so we're gonna consider it next month.
Correct. So, yes. Discussion and possible motion regarding council file 25002 S14 is Brown Act amendment that under 6A that would include teleconferencing and advisory bodies. That would allow advisory bodies to conduct.
Yeah, I thought we discussed, didn't we discuss that last meeting and we were all.
We didn't have a quorum.
Okay,
So this would be to pass support for this motion. Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, second, great, thank you. Public comment? Board comment?
we need it.
Does anyone know what the status is of both the council file and I haven't checked lately. And also the actual state legislation itself. I don't remember if I checked when I reviewed the agenda. Just don't recall.
I thought I printed it, but I'm not seeing.
Okay, well, I guess I'll revert to Wayne, but there is a schedule of the, the bills have to get out of the House of Origin by.
Right.
And then, then they go out to the other side, so maybe, but it's fine.
So, any other board comment? All those in favor of supporting this motion, please raise your hand. Unanimously, thank you. I know.
I know, we've been waiting for months to vote.
My arm's getting tired.
It's 9:02. We're gonna end at 9:15, if that's okay.
Yep.
No further. 6E is a discussion of possible motion regarding LABAC absences and replacement processes.
Table it.
Table it.
We did, look, we did well tonight.
Yeah.
Come on.
The purpose of this motion is to assure that we get quorum. At least it's an effort for that.
I made 50 cents, come on.
Yeah, I know. One out of the last 5 meetings.
Yeah. We can table it. That's fine.
let's
I-
see.
Well,
But-
you want to present it?
Yeah, okay, so a couple meetings ago, people were talking about the problem getting quorum and we were, at least some of us were disturbed by the fact that many members don't show up or show up here regularly or not regularly enough. And so some of us talked about putting together a motion which obligates members to actually represent their city council district and to be here. And if they're not here a certain number of times, then we should take some kind of action because we find ourselves stuck. This is a rare meeting where we have this number of people, and it shouldn't be this big of a problem.
I was gonna
Go
read
on.
the motion.
Okay, yeah, read it. So I wrote this and I gave it to Rob to play with, and maybe you changed the wording.
I didn't.
Okay, go for it.
So there's a bunch of whereases, but it concludes with,
See, Karen wrote like you and I are trained.
we therefore move that contemporaneously with legislation being passed by the city council permitting attendance.
CIL, by the way, council. City council.
Yes,
That's right, CIL. Council is a.
Oh, you're right, absolutely right. Yeah, thank you for that. Funny.
permitting attendance at BAC meetings by Zoom and or other similar technology. Should a member then miss 2 meetings in a row or 3 meetings during any period of 1 year, such members shall be suspended automatically from BAC meetings and activities for a period of 2 months, and the BAC chair shall notify the council district from which the member represents of the same, with a recommendation that city council district considers selecting a new member to represent such district in the BAC.
And I'm not sure the timeframes are right, and there's all sorts of wordsmithing, but that was the concept. And I'm not sure that missing 3 meetings in a period of is the right number.
It's 50%. I mean,
It's 50, yeah, right, yeah.
That's
But
significant.
I thought it was important that we take a stand on this. And and some city council districts may not find someone to replace, but at least then our quorum requirement is reduced at the same time.
Maybe
We're
not,
getting,
but-
okay, well, Glenn will tell us.
Yeah.
All right, so we've already been told by state attorney, no city entity has floating quorums. So as long as our membership is, there are 15 city council members and 4 appointees by the mayor, 19, our quorum is 10. So we have to deal with that by recruiting, filling vacancies, getting so whatever. I think first of all, I think that whatever is done on this, we don't have the authority, but I think motion for city council could. I don't think you should tie it with Zoom or anything like that. You should just make it a clean, just like they did in 2008 or 2009 when they put the motion in, about the officer. That was city council motion because someone got, to do that. But ultimately, and also I'm not so sure about suspending somebody because then that just makes it get worse.
Well, if they're not here anyway, we might as well take action, so that way that
No, they're not.
council district.
Yeah.
But let me just finish. I do think if putting in a process, so only the city council can remove, and I don't think they can even mandate, because you saw what happened with the mayor and the city council president when they failed to make their appointments to some very high level things. They just sat on it and nobody could force them to do it. So, but I do think if we set up a process or they set up a process to notify the council, I don't know that we need a motion to do that. I think it might be good to have a consensus so nobody thinks that we're after them. If you want to get a city council motion to do that, that's fine. But the bottom line is that nobody can force the mayor or the city council to make the appointment. So if you want to set something up that then because of absences, that they're vacated the position, okay, we can have that conversation, but just be aware of the consequences of that in terms of.
So maybe,
So we have one member who we haven't seen for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? And so it wouldn't matter for that person, but we have some people who sometimes do show up. So I wouldn't want to like eliminate that total possibility that they might show up. hoping that a council member, and some council members have taken 2 years to make an appointment. So it's a sticky wicket, and I think we should be careful on how we do that. But I do think we need to figure out a way to notify the council members based on attendance that their person is not
Meeting obligation.
yeah, exactly. And if that comes from DOT or it comes from us or whatever, we should figure out just a way that's sort of a routine, that's not personal. It's just an obligation. It'd be great if it was a council, because then it's like they have to, right? They have.
It could be something that we do at the end of every calendar year. December, there's a, hey, maybe it's more frequent.
It's kind of more frequent. It's better to let them know and to vacate that seat than for us every meeting for Jennifer to get on the phone and try to get people here. It's a pain in the neck.
Let's hear from others.
Yeah, we have to.
Other thoughts about, yeah.
You know, how would that work for like a situation in CD5 with Michael and me? I mean, how would that work?
I think as long as there's one of the two are there, you're covered, right?
Yeah, you're seated.
I think it's where a council district seat
Is
never
represented.
rarely represented.
Yeah, and it's not good enough that someone sporadically shows up.
Yeah,
Either you're committed or you're not.
right. Okay, what,
Aubrey?
Yes. What if 6 members were zoomed in for 6 meetings?
We don't have that option currently, but I think if it is.
That was why I put in that language, because I heard from Glenn last time that it's on the horizon. That was why I included that language. So that way you couldn't physically be here, but at least you participated. Participation.
So what's the use of voting process?
I'm sorry?
It doesn't give us quorum currently,
No.
but it could in the future if virtual meetings are possible. Janice?
So just kind of a corollary to that, I was just gonna comment that, we have people that maybe can't always be at these meetings, but we know that they're involved in bicycle advocacy and we hear from them. Maybe they don't come to this meeting, but they've been to the subcommittee. But we have, I think, 2. Maybe you've heard from them. If you hear directly from individuals without it being copied to the whole group. And I think we have 2 that we have not seen or heard from about the 3 years.
Yeah.
And Zoom may have been
Me,
part of the problem.
I didn't see them during Zoom either.
I did, yeah, I did.
With much effort. Looking over this side.
So John Lowy has been a problem where he hasn't resigned. He's very ill. But we haven't had a replacement. I've really tried hard to get it. So it's not as though that's an issue, except when we need quorum. But I don't, I could call John and say, John, I think you really need to resign. And we did talk about that, but we have no replacement. So then it looks bad.
Well, I think.
It looks bad if we don't have anything.
Well,
We have to have the rate.
we have to evolve somehow.
Yes, we do.
And at this point, we're stuck.
Let's not make it look bad.
We
if
look
our
good
members
today.
join us.
Look,
Let's
we
make it
look
look
great.
bad.
We look so good
Let's make
today.
it look bad that the council member hasn't appointed.
That's what we need to do.
Correct.
Right. If you get someone like, I like John, but he is not able to participate. So if you can get him to resign, I mean, that's part of the issue is we always are concerned, or we've experienced council members that don't want to offend people, right? And remove them. But if they resign and there's a vacancy, then the door is open for them to make.
Then that's on us.
And we have more leverage to say something at the city council. You are unrepresented, not that the person doesn't show up or they're not feeling well. I mean, because that just all it does is drag out the conversation.
So just in terms of chat, somebody mentioned we need more representation in underserved neighborhoods. For example, Council District 7, et cetera, are underserved and lack representation. 9. So forth. I don't know that we're going to come to a motion tonight. I think this can go back to Advocacy and Education Committee, but it's important to have had some airtime here. So let's just do a final, what are your thoughts on this and how would you advise the Advocacy and Education Committee? What are the things that you want them to consider? So what you've already gone, Glenn, do you have anything else?
If we're gonna go the city council route, let's give that some, we'll need to figure out like who might enter the motion but we gotta think about the content. Yeah, we can't, don't leave the door open for them to come up with something.
Right, no, right. Aubrey?
I got a situation where I'm enough once we become a rep, and I already rep another council.
Okay, good. You're a popular guy. Janice, anything else? Danny? Lionel, anything?
No, I agree with your concerns and that of my colleagues. You know, I guess we need to see, I would like to see this, I would like to see the city council and the mayor's office do more engagement outreach on their newsletters, social media. Cause I had gone to city council on May 27th, for example, on my day off of work. I told the city council right in front of them, do more advertisement for events, like, for example, budget day. So we had to push them more to be more aware of stuff, to follow city council on newsletters, social media, and to help us and other advocates spread awareness.
Hunter, anything around?
I'll just say, from my neighborhood council experience, it's really helpful to have some sort of mechanism in place to vacate seats. I'm not familiar enough with the bylaws here to know if that's already in place or an option, but yeah, it's been helpful for us in order to make informed.
We don't have bylaws, that's the problem.
Oh, maybe we should.
That's the problem too, we can't.
I'll echo what you said. I've been part of this committee for a year and a half. This first day we've had quorum that I could vote on. So anything we can do to improve participation, full for.
No.
I certainly think someone who hasn't come for a year or more has relinquished their spot. But
Taylor.
also the alternate program was supposed to be one solution, and maybe we need to focus on the places where we don't have.
Well, some are really utilizing the alternate program really well, so.
Yeah.
Taylor, anything?
No, I agree with what everyone said. I don't have a problem with Curtis's motion necessarily at all.
Jennifer and Philip?
I agree with, LADOT, helping us. And with our ability, you know, it used to be we were afraid to approach the council office. And so we didn't. And now I am. I'm on approaching every council office that I can, and we finally got Hunter, and we're trying to get Adrian. And we have, and Glenn is helping, he's helping. And so I think we need somehow, you know, to put down a kind of, motion where the LADOT and the city council and the mayor have
So
to help.
this is final comments to advise the advocacy and education so
Yeah.
thank you for those.
I just heard Aubrey say that he's already appointed by one council district, and then Heather Hunt wants to be his. So you have like 2 council districts to choose from. And then maybe the one that you don't choose, you could help them find somebody else.
We've got people interested in the Heather Hutt.
That's 5.
I just make one more. I'm recalling from my previous experience of something unrelated to this. There is a state law, so I'm saying that for the attorneys in the room. There is a state law, I think it's in the government code, but this goes back for decades, about the relinquishment of doing your duties, but I don't know if it would apply for an appointment, and so I'm just gonna put that out there as possibly.
If you find it, can you, or ChatGPT will help. And to close us out.
Look, you know, yeah, I've been here for a few years, and this is maybe my second time with a quorum. If we want to be relevant, we have to act like we're relevant. And acting like we're relevant is not being scared to take a position. And if some other board, the city council wants to tell us we did it wrong, then let them tell us. But don't be scared to do it from the beginning.
Right.
And if we're going to ask DOT, she was here since 2016. They've been working on the Valley Plan. If we ask DOT or city council, we're gonna have this conversation for the next 10 years. We need to put an end to this now as the best we can. And if someone else wants to question it, let them do it. We gotta stop being scared of being relevant.
Okay.
Fired up, ready to go.
Yeah.
With that, I'd like to,
Can we get a report next meeting? Can we get a motion next meeting?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What's going on with my website motion?
We're out of time. I'm just gonna do a closing word, any critical things that people need to say as we wrap up. Danny?
Yeah, I recently went to a garden center presentation. They're trying to turn that area into a very pedestrian bicycle friendly area. So if you know anyone who cares about that area, you don't have to put your input in. We really need people to be pro-bike, pro-pedestrian. We need all people.
Beautiful. Janice teed that up for you perfectly. That's been, anything else?
I asked him to.
Great, good. Aubrey?
No,
Glenn?
I was at a meeting, council member Blumenfield's deputy announced that he's putting forward a initiative to replace the lighting with solar powered lighting on the Orange Line bike path from throughout Council District 3. So that would be from like Lindley to all the way to like Nordoff to Chatsworth. So that would be because of copper wire then. The second thing Lionel mentioned, neighbor council budget day, it's on April 21st, registration is now open. I would encourage anyone who's available or if you know others go table it. The mayor is going to be there, the city controller is going to be there, the chair of the city council budget finance committee is going to be the president of the city council, Marquis Harris Dawson is going to be there, and some other folks too. Budgetadvocates.org, you can register for that.
Curtis, anything else?
Yeah, I had a conversation with one of my point people at CD4. We talked about injuries, bike accidents, things like that around the city. And we talked about how do we alert people to where there are unsafe areas. And I was asked about our motion on a website so that we can let our constituency know whether they can ride safely or not. And I told him that I had prepared a motion and I'm waiting on it. So, okay.
Thank you. Again, happy birthday to Jennifer A. Hill.
The only thing in my report was on the budget, and you know, my neighborhood council in particular worked for several years on a Safe Routes to School project. And we learned at our subcommittee meeting that you know, because the position of the project manager was vacant and might have been deleted, that funding may now $32 million may be in jeopardy. So
yeah, great. Jennifer?
I'm good.
Taylor? Karen? Joey? Hunter?
Thanks for welcoming me.
Yeah. Final.
I just want to, I understand, Mr. Graham's concern, and I almost forgot to mention this, but I went off topic. I support this motion. I just, FYI.
Thank you.
Because we also have issues with other advisory bodies. It's frustrating that some people put in the work, others are not committed to just bench warm or taking away, you know, resources from others.
And public last comment for the board. For the committee.
I'm so happy for you all.
Thank you. We are adjourned. And again, happy birthday, Jennifer.
Powerful board.